All right. I'm Senator Judy Seeberger. I represent District 41, and I live in Afton. And I want to thank you all for being here today. I called this press conference, and I invited my friends from Croix Valley Riders and the Litas to talk a little bit about what we've been seeing during the summer and this motorcycle riding season. It's been a particularly deadly one, and just about every accident that we have seen come across the news has been preventable. I want to talk a little bit about what we're seeing, and I want to urge motorists to use caution when they're out on the road. Put your phone down. Give yourself enough time to get where you're going. If you've been drinking, please don't drive. And take another look when you're at a stop sign or before you make a lane change. And remember, motorcycle riders are out there, and we need to pay attention. They have just as much right to be out on the road as you do when you're in a car. But they're harder to see, and we need to pay extra attention. I want to give you a couple of examples of things that I've seen where motorists are just simply not paying attention. When I was driving here today on Interstate 94 in my car, which is a white SUV, somebody almost changed lanes right into me. They were not paying attention. When I live in Afton, I was traveling southbound on Neal Avenue, and I make that trip a lot in the course of, I'm campaigning now, it's campaign season, and about 2 weeks ago I was going south on Neal, right at 50th, a car pulled out from a stop sign right in front of the car in front of me. About a week later I was traveling with my son that same route, same intersection, a car pulled out from the other side, right in front of me. Now, I was in my vehicle at the time, and I had to make a hard stop. If I would have been on my bike, it would have been a crash. And then about a week later, a call came out. I'm on the Lower St. Croix Valley Fire Department as a paramedic. Call came out for an injury accident at that same intersection. These are people not paying attention. We need to do better. When you're stopped at a stop sign, look twice, 3 times before you proceed. You're looking for cars, you're looking for motorcycles, you're looking for bicyclists, you're looking for pedestrians, you're looking for stray dogs, you're looking for everything because you don't want to hit anything. We don't proceed until the way is clear. We have a few people here to give some additional information. Right now I'm going to turn it over to the Office of Traffic Safety, Director Hanson, to talk a little bit about the numbers that we're seeing this summer.
Thank you, Senator Seeberger, and thank you all for being here today. My name is Mike Hanson. I have the privilege of serving as the Director for the Department of Public Safety's Office of Traffic Safety. I'm going to give you a little bit of a snapshot of some of the data and some of the trends that we have identified so far this year. As the Senator said, we're off to an extremely deadly start. And so we have to figure out how to reverse that trend and eliminate these preventable crashes from happening in the first place. But before I start with the numbers and the data and all of that, I want everybody to remember that every number, every bit of statistic, every data point that I am talking about today represents people just like these who are standing right here behind me. These are people. So far, 37 motorcycle riders have been killed on Minnesota roads this year. That compares to 24 at this time last year. So you can see that we are way, way, way ahead. 24 is a bad number. 37 is absolutely horrific. And it represents the highest numbers that we've seen in a couple of decades. If we stay on the same trend line that we're on right now, we will see around 90 motorcycle fatalities this year. That's numbers that we haven't seen since the late 80s and early 1990s. So it's incumbent upon all of us, riders and drivers, to work together to ensure that we are doing everything so that everybody can use the road safely and gets from point A to point B. One thing that has stood out to us in some of these statistics is the number of passenger fatalities that we've experienced so far in Minnesota. In a typical year, we will see 1 or 2 motorcycle passenger fatalities over the course of the riding season. So far this year, we are at 3. And so we need to figure out what's going on here and make sure that riders and passengers wear that safety equipment, ride appropriately, but drivers, you also need to see and make sure that you are seeing these folks out there. Our data and research also shows that single vehicle motorcycle fatalities and serious injuries are happening most frequently when a motorcycle is in a corner or is cornering, making a turn, negotiating a curve, something like that. Now, there's a couple things that lead to that. Number one is speed. If a driver goes into that too fast, or if they are going into that curve at a speed that is in excess of their skill level, that's when that motorcycle departs from the roadway and when injury and death can occur. So we want riders to be aware of your skill level and make sure that you're paying attention to the road as well. Early in the season, we identified our younger riders, those in that 20 to 25-year-old age range, as being overrepresented. But recently, we're seeing that trend transition to the other end of the spectrum. The number of riders being killed now over the age of 60 has now exceeded that 20-year-old threshold. So experienced riders, we need you to get in, and I'm going to talk about our safety training in just a little bit. Impairment continues to be one thing that concerns us, not only for motorcycle riders and operators, but for drivers as well. As the Senator said, there's no reason for any of us to get behind the wheel or hop on that bike if we're impaired, and it doesn't matter what you're using. Impaired is impaired. If you feel different, you drive different. If you feel different, make a choice and make a safe choice, and don't put yourself in the position where you're going to be arrested, hurt, or killed. We're hearing anecdotally from many of our rider groups and many of our rider partners out there that we're seeing an increase in the use of motorcycles, quite simply for one reason. It's more convenient, and also they get a lot better gas mileage than that car or that truck. And so with gas prices being what they are, we're seeing riders taking advantage of that economic boost to using that motorcycle. Now I want to talk about how all of us can work together to make sure that our roads are safe, that we're riding safely, that we're driving safely, and again, as I said early on, that we all get from point A to point B safely. Keeping motorcycle operators safe on the road involves education, training, enforcement, and awareness efforts like we're doing here today with our media partners. And ultimately, riders and drivers choosing to drive smart and to ride smart. The Minnesota Motorcycle Safety Training Center rider training programs serves riders with affordable, high-quality, professional training and education. They're available for new to expert riders. We have brand new rider courses, we have intermediate driver courses, and we have advanced rider courses, and they are all top-notch. I can personally tell you that our rider coaches out there are some of the best in the country. Our motorcycle safety training coordinator, Jay Bach, tells me that all the time, and I believe him. Now, so far, there's some good news here. We've seen an increase in the number of classes. We have 11 more basic rider courses that are taking place this year. That's going to result in roughly 121 more riders being educated and trained to operate those bikes safely. Now, all of our instructors are certified by the Motorcycle Safety Training Foundation, and they're dedicated to the safety of those students and to making sure that they leave that course with the skills they have to ride and drive safely. Now, the Minnesota Motorcycle Safety Training Center also provides awareness materials that are paid for by Minnesota motorcyclists. These materials are free to motorcycle clubs, dealers, organizations, safety groups, law enforcement, community groups. If you want motorcycle educational material, call the Department of Public Safety, Office of Traffic Safety. We will get you what you want, what we have in stock. I promise you that. Our Motorcycle Impaired campaign that we're kicking off over the course of the summer. Again, bringing awareness to the need to ride sober and ride unimpaired, just like we do the same thing with all of our motor vehicle operators. We have a new set of motorcycle training and safety ads that will be coming out. You'll see a lot of these on social media with the emphasis on that safety equipment. Even in nature, there is safety equipment that our little critters in nature use. Think of that box turtle or that snapping turtle and that hard shell that they have and how that protects that particular critter from harm and from bad things from happening. Wear protective gear, riders. That's really what we want to emphasize also. That protective gear includes the helmet. That's your first line of defense. It's your last line of defense. It's just like a seatbelt. When something bad happens, that helmet can save you when nothing else will. Be visible, as the Senator said. Wear that high-vis gear. It really does make a difference. Drivers out there, motorcycles are smaller. Their speed is harder to judge. They're harder to see. And so you need to take that second look and that third look before you cross that intersection, before you merge onto that road, before you make that lane change. Motorcycles are out there. In Minnesota, we're challenged with kind of a split riding season. Bikes are out there on the road 7-8 months out of the year, and then they wind up in the garage while we have winter. So we have to re-educate ourselves both as riders and as drivers every spring. Motorcycles are out there. Drivers, you need to be aware of that. You need to pay attention. You need to see motorcycles. Use your mirrors all the time, drivers, before you make that lane change, before you make that turn, because we don't want to have a motorcycle in that blind spot. And the blind spots are bigger than they have been, and so it requires more attention. We all need to remember to slow down and share the road. Road safety is a shared responsibility. Everyone has it. Everybody's responsible for it. So with that, everybody, again, Senator Seeberger, I really appreciate you calling attention to this. In Minnesota, we can work together on this, and we can go through the rest of the summer without any more motorcycle fatalities. All of these folks here and everybody that rides with them can get home safely. So thank you for your time, and I'll handle questions later. Don, I think you're up next.
Thank you, sir.
You bet.
Thank you, Director Hanson. The state of Minnesota is very fortunate to have a gentleman at the helm like you, sir. I am privileged and fortunate to be the president of the St. Croix Valley Riders. We are a nonprofit motorcycle rights and awareness organization. We also dabble a little bit in children's charities. We throw one heck of a Christmas party every December for children over in the St. Paul Park area and their families. Next to me here is Luke Trombley. He is our rider education coordinator. He's a licensed racer, and he has been an education rider coach for quite some time. At St. Croix Valley Riders, we emphasize motorcycle safety, awareness, education, skills training. We piggyback off of what the state of Minnesota does with its rider education programs. And we offer to our members, if you are a St. Croix Valley Rider member for 3 years or more in good standing, we will reimburse that rider for an endorsement class, an intermediate skills training class, and even an advanced training class. We will pay you back up to $279 for that program. That's how much we care about the awareness and the safety on the roads for you as a motorcycle rider. I do want to, and I will hand this off to Luke for a brief explanation of some of our skills training. I do want to address splitting and filtering. It's a new law in Minnesota. And there's a lot of motorcyclists out there that may not really understand the basic parameter of that law. If you're going more than 25 miles an hour, filtering or splitting, you're breaking the law. Do not do it on the interstate. Do not do it on four-lane highway unless traffic is going 25 miles an hour or slower. You need to protect yourself, and we need to ease the motorists in the state of Minnesota to this new law. We have to work together on it. Motorists, please leave a gap between two lanes. Not your lane and a shoulder, that's illegal. Between two lanes is where a motorcycle will travel when they split or filter. So please be aware, look over your left shoulder. If you're in the left lane, look over your right shoulder. Be aware that a motorcycle may go past you or may go in front of you at a stop sign or a stoplight. Protective wear. What St. Croix Valley Riders does is we protect the right to choose. We don't heckle you if you wear a helmet. Some of us do, and some of us don't. It can help you in certain circumstances, absolutely, it's been proven. But at the St. Croix Valley Riders, we protect freedom of choice. We are a lobbying organization. Senator Judy Seeberger is a member. She rides motorcycles, and she advocates with us. She helps us with appropriate direction, addressing certain topic items within the state of Minnesota. If you feel that you want to be part of what we do, and every motorcyclist, every three-wheeler in the state of Minnesota should be part of this organization, visit www.scvr.org, and on our website, on our main page, you will find a plethora of information, and you can join us there. Luke, would you like to touch a little bit on what I missed?
Yeah, so I'm the rider education coordinator. New this year, so learning a lot, but also have a lot to provide. A lot of that educational resource material is going to be managed by me, so my goal is to get that out to as many people as possible, but that also includes training and training resources. As much, yeah, sorry.
Appreciate that.
So as much as the state of Minnesota does provide, I want to provide more. So the more education, the more outreach, the more training that we offer, the more safe we will all be on the roads. So where I specialize is ride education and training on course, on a parking lot, on your motorcycle. So that's my goal, is to get people on their motorcycle, getting real training, real time, real feedback, and really earning that confidence to be on the road and get home safe every night. So that's going to be a strong focus for SCVR going forward, and just to make everybody safe and keep the roads safe for everyone.
Thank you, Luke. Stories about motorcycling, right? I don't have much time. I just got that look. I've lost a couple good friends this year. Like Senator Seeberger said, we need to look out for each other. Motorists, you need to look out for bikes. Bikes, you need to ride like you're invisible, because you are right now. And we need to work together on this. Thank you. Heather?
Thank you. Hi, I'm Heather Sevlin. I'm the founder of the Litas St. Croix Valley. And these are my Litas behind me. And we're all here for Dana today. We want justice for Dana. It's already been a month, and somehow it still doesn't feel real. Every day, I catch myself thinking I'll get another phone call from Dana while she's out walking her dog Gus. I still think about our camping trips we were planning, our podcast, karaoke nights, traveling the world, and all the little moments we thought we would have this summer. It was supposed to be our best summer yet. Instead, we're all standing here. Dana was more than a headline. She was a teacher finishing her master's degree. She had just moved into her own home and was finally creating the peaceful life that she had worked so hard for. She was an advocate for women. She was a leader, a mentor, and the kind of friend who always showed up for people. She had dreams, she had plans, and she had a future. And all of that was taken away by a decision that should have been made. This didn't have to happen, and it was preventable. Our world is heavy right now. I know people are busy. I know we're all distracted. And I know people make mistakes, but we have to do better. Please put the phone down. Please slow down. Please actually look twice for motorcycles. It takes 2 extra seconds. If you decide to drink, don't drive. We are not obstacles on the road. We are daughters, sons, parents, teachers, friends, husbands, wives, and best friends. Every rider is someone's whole world. And when you don't see a motorcycle, a family can lose everything. This is bigger than Dana's story. This is about every rider who leaves home hoping to make it back safely. And I'm also here because accountability matters. This was his second impaired driving offense, and he is already out on conditional bail. Choices have consequences, and preventable tragedies like this demand that we take impaired driving seriously. My hope is that Dana's story helps create change, because if we don't learn from these tragedies like this, we will continue to lose people that we love. Nothing will bring Dana back, no sentence, no hearing, no press conference. But if her story reaches one person who decides not to drink or drive impaired, or one driver who looks twice before turning in front of a motorcycle, then Dana's legacy will continue to protect others. Please remember her name, please remember her life, and please don't let her become just another statistic. We want justice for Dana. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Ashley Geel. I'm a member of the St. Croix Valley Litas. The Litas are a global spanning collective of women motorcycle enthusiasts, and we are here for the girls. If there's any women out there who are interested in getting a motorcycle, or maybe have one but no one to ride with, if you need guidance on getting your endorsement, or if you're just a little moto curious, please reach out to us on social media. You can find us on Facebook and Instagram. There are local collectives in the St. Croix Valley, the Twin Cities, and in Rochester. We would love to help you get on 2 wheels. The main reason that I'm here today is to call for justice for our friend Dana Milan. Dana was killed a month ago doing what she loved most, riding her motorcycle. This is Robert Rodriguez. This 63-year-old excuse of a man was arrested on June 10th for his second offense, DUI, when he drunkenly pulled out in front of Dana, causing her to crash her motorcycle into the side of his Jeep, which ultimately resulted in her death. Dana's light was snubbed from this earth too soon, but today Robert Rodriguez walks free. He's sleeping in his own bed, walking the streets, and hopefully watching this news conference today. I would like to ask the state of Minnesota for a swift and just sentencing in this case, and we would like to see Robert Rodriguez put back behind bars where he belongs for the rest of his life. He does not deserve the opportunity to hurt anybody else. Godspeed, Dana. We love you, we miss you, and we wish you were here. Thank you.
I hope it's clear that every single person on a motorcycle, like Heather said, is a person. It's somebody's loved one. And I think we can all see the impact here that some of these stories are having on members of the community. I'll open it up to questions now.
Director, I wonder if you could give some insight into where most of these fatalities are happening. Is it rural roads? Is it city roads? Is it highways? What does that look like across the state here?
As I prepped for the event here today, I had one of our research analysts take a kind of a deep dive into some of that data. And the answer is very simple. It's both. And it's about half and half of the motorcycle fatalities occurring within a metropolitan area and the other half in greater Minnesota in the rural areas. So it's about half and half.
If I can follow up on that, Director, is there any breakdown in terms of causation of these fatalities? I'm thinking specifically of speed, and has there been any injuries or fatalities with the new law with the lane filtering and splitting?
Okay, two questions. Let me take the first one. Okay, what is causation? First of all, roughly half of the motorcycle fatalities involve a single motorcycle, and this is primarily the result of a run-off-the-road event. As I said in my opening remarks, typically that run-off-the-road event is the result of speed, maybe some inattention or distraction, maybe a rider not quite having the skill level to do that. And this is why we really encourage that rider education component and why that's so important. The other half of the time, it's a motorcycle and a motor vehicle interacting. Now, when I look at that specific data set, again, about half the time, the attributed cause can be a mistake by the motorcycle rider, but the other half of the time is clearly the mistake of the motor vehicle operator. And so, again, back to the core of my message, road safety is everybody's business. We're all in this together, and we all have a responsibility to each other to make sure that we're doing everything safely. Now, as far as lane splitting and lane filtering, it's very early. We've had the law on the books for, about a year now. For us to draw any realistic conclusions from what we're seeing, I can tell you that I drive back and forth between Minneapolis and St. Paul and in greater Minnesota a couple times a week. And I've seen lane splitting done safely, properly, and legally. But I've also seen lane splitting done unsafely, improperly, unlawfully. So riders, we ask you, police yourselves and spread the word, 25 miles an hour and under, and then you have the ability, as long as that's within your skill set. So know your skill set, because not every time you can split or filter is a good time to split or filter. So a longer answer than you probably were looking for, but that's where we're at with it.
What percentage of the motorcycle fatalities are alcohol related with the driver?
Yeah. How often is a motorcycle operator impaired when the crash occurs?
No, the driver.
Oh, the driver of the motor vehicle.
Yeah.
That would be a little bit hard for us to quantify right off the top of my head. We can certainly take a look at it. What I can tell you in general terms, 1/3 of fatalities in Minnesota involve an impaired driver. And so I think we can make that same comparison to the motor vehicle crashes.
Senator, are you considering any legislative remedies?
In terms of, I would like to see stricter penalties for people who maybe multiple offenses. We heard about the person who killed Dana was on a second offense on an operating while intoxicated. I would not be opposed to pursuing stricter penalties for people who do not, who drive when impaired, who have multiple offenses, who drive recklessly, and who engage in conduct that result in preventable deaths. But I will tell you what I will not support. I will never support, and I will not support any law mandating helmet use in the state of Minnesota. I agree with the mission of the St. Croix Valley Riders. It's everybody's choice, how they ride, where they ride, when they ride. But I will always say you should be safe. When I ride, I do wear a helmet. I wear a full-face helmet. I always say I got to protect the goods, right? But it's everybody's choice, and that's why I love being a part of the St. Croix Valley Riders. Don's right. They don't shame me for wearing a helmet. I was telling Don, I got the Bluetooth speakers in there. I listen to my Beyonce when I'm going down the road. It's phenomenal. But everybody can choose the way they do it. So I will never support any law mandating helmet use.
On that same note, can you talk a little bit about, I mean, the lane filtering and lane splitting law comes to mind, but any other legislation, you can talk about that one as well, but any other legislation within the last couple of years that has dealt with riders and safety and whatnot?
The lane filtering and splitting was a big one, and it was controversial. There's reasons for it, and there's reasons why people don't like it. I think we did a nice job with it, limiting it to 25 miles an hour or less. I would have loved to have seen shoulders open up a little bit to give motorcyclists a little more leeway when they're in tight situations. We had that written into the law initially. It got, the legislative process is you start with something and you end up with something else, and that piece got taken out. When it comes to lane splitting and filtering, everything that everyone has said is correct. It's up to the motorcyclist to know their ability, to understand when it's appropriate to do it. And I've seen it done right, and I've seen it done in appropriate situations, and particularly in stop-and-go traffic. If you're at a stoplight and somebody comes up into the front of the pack, that's good, and that's better, and that's safer for the motorcyclist. Don't be the, don't be the guy in the car that somehow gets offended that this person inched their way up to the front. It's just the way it is. You'll still get to your destination. Let them do what is within their rights to do. But I've also seen knuckleheads out there too. I've been on the freeway where somebody has lane split at 70 miles an hour down the freeway. That's illegal. That's breaking the law. It was before we passed the law, and it is today. Don't do that. Don't be a knucklehead. Please, please, for everyone's safety, follow the law, know the law. If you don't know the law, go to the Department of Public Safety website, go to SCVR website, talk to somebody in the Litas, call me, happy to educate you. But I think what we need to do is make sure that people are aware of what's legal and what's illegal. And again, don't be a knucklehead, don't be a, again. Knucklehead's a good word. Please don't be a knucklehead.
When drafting legislation in here, how often do you hear rider safety come up as a talking point in committees and whatnot? And is it enough, do you feel?
Rider safety conversations take different forms. The biggest one that I hear are the advocates pushing for mandatory helmet laws. We all know helmets work, but we all know helmets don't prevent every death or injury. And so it's more in that context that I tend to hear rider safety. And certainly there are examples to back up any argument for laws for or against protective riding gear. I think the most important people to listen to when it comes to rider safety are riders. And that's why I'm grateful to have the relationship that I do with Don Morley and the St. Croix Valley Riders. I think during that splitting and filtering law, we were texting back and forth trying to figure, well, is it a good idea, bad idea, who likes it, who doesn't like it, how do we write this? And when I have questions, I turn to the experts. And those are the people that help inform. And then I try to educate that my other colleagues here at the legislature. Training. So important. On the issue of training, I did take the intermediate riders course a couple years ago. It was fantastic. I've had rider education courses in the past. It had been a hot second before since I had taken one. And I thought, well, what the heck, I'm going to take this course. It was really good. It was really good. Things I had learned before, I remembered, which I had forgotten, or maybe it was just stashed too far back in my brain. But it was a good training opportunity. The instructors were phenomenal. It's a safe place to go in and make mistakes, ask questions, understand your bike better, learn new techniques, and develop that confidence when you're out there on the road.
Thank you all so much for being here and sharing your stories. I have a question I have for you, Senator Officer Hanson. Was the 90 fatalities that's going to trend if we see the current numbers continue to increase, was that taken into account before the gas prices increased as a result of the attacks starting back up between the U.S. and Iran?
We've been monitoring this for about the last 6 or 7 weeks when we started to see those numbers really start to tick up. So when you compare that to the timeline with gas prices and things like that, it's a little hard to make that real hard connection. But again, you know, anecdotally talking to riders, you know, there are more people who are taking that bike more regularly because it gets better gas mileage. The 90 projection is, you know, we're just coming into the heart of the riding season. And so if the same trends continue that we saw in the early part of it, continue through the heart of it, and then into the fall, which is also a very big riding season, you know, we could come very close to touching 90, and that's a horrific number. We just don't want to do that. Until about 3 weeks ago, our total fatalities have been trending far lower than last year. Now, it's just in the last month. Now, today, I think we're 3 ahead of where we were last year. And so we have to address this, and quite honestly, the motorcycle fatality increase is what's driving that imbalance.
Thank you very much.
Any other questions?
All right, thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you.